Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Homeless Left. I'm Matt Weinglass, and we have a very special show for you today. The Homeless Left, if you're new to our channel or you're a returning viewer, we just want to remind you guys and let you know that The Homeless Left is a place where political castaways can gather around core principles and common sense. And we want to welcome anybody who is feeling uneasy right now about the state of politics in our society. Especially during the last 3 years, with everything that's been going on, a lot of propaganda, a lot of things, people being divided, a lot of fear being used. It's hard to even know what side to be on, or what that even feels like. And if you get that feeling that you are getting pushback every time you try and ask a question, and you get told to be quiet or get back in line, if you no longer want to play that game of tribalism, the Homeless Left is where you can come and feel safe, in a safe place to ask these questions, be curious, which we are here. And to let you guys know, I know that the Sherwood community here in LA, the entertainment industry, we want to thank you guys for getting on board with us. We know there's a lot of skepticism in this industry. We have a lot of crazy stuff going on in this industry right now with the WGA and now the SAG strike. This is the type of moment where courage is needed to fight back, stand up against the people who are holding all the power. And I want to urge anybody that's watching from LA, part of our community in Sherwood, let you know that this is exactly why we do this show. Exactly why. There's a time to stand up and scream at the top of your lungs, this is wrong. And that takes principle, it takes courage. And you can't do that if you're trapped at home with a mask over your face. So take the mask off, open your mouth, get out in the street. Sherwood Players is going to be out in the street on Thursday at Netflix Studios. We're going to be there helping on the picket line. We're going to be filming some interviews and putting together our own little message about what's happening here in Tinseltown. But that's for another show, another topic. Right now, today, I want to let you guys know that the topic we're doing, this is a very important one to us. And I'm glad we were finally able to coordinate this. We are covering the Me Too movement and how it was hijacked by the media and basically thrown out the window. And we want to see what happened, what went wrong. And we are so fortunate to have an exclusive interview with a survivor, Tara Reade, who's out in Moscow right now. And she was able to come on with me a little earlier, and we had a little discussion, and I got to hear her story, and we're going to get into that later. And that's what it's about. Again, guys, storytelling, points of view. Know when you're hearing propaganda, know when it sounds like bullshit, because they're not giving you the full story. But that's what we're doing here. We're having those conversations. So thanks for everyone in the industry, in the community, the Sherwood player community, being part of this channel. We're going to be exclusively on Rumble. As you guys know, we always go over there halfway through the show. We're going to do that one more time today and next week. And then we're just going to be on Rumble. So this is your last chance to kind of get part of what we're doing outside of the industry, really, and into real life, because that's, this is our lives. These are our families. These are our, we are all human beings. We're part of the same species. We need to be strong together, not just when we're having a strike in our industry, but all the time, for everyone, in all industries, in all walks of life. Okay. With that said, before we get into the topic, we're actually going to actually catch up with our co-host, Niko, who is on location right now, covering another story. But I had a chance to check in with him earlier, and he gave us a little update on the RFK Jr. campaign, and he recorded it this morning. So here you guys go. It's time for our weekly RFK Jr. update with Niko.
Hello, welcome to the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. weekly update. This has been a difficult week in the life of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was at a dinner gathering on the Upper East Side, I believe, of Manhattan at the invitation of some Jewish supporters, and he had a kind of off the record, what he claims was an off the record chat among all the people there. And it turns out that someone had a video camera running, and it was released in the New York Post as a big scandal, revealing that RFK is secretly an anti-Semite. And the logic there was because in this interview, he discusses how certain studies have pointed to a genetic predisposition for certain people of certain ethnic groups to be affected more intensely by COVID-19 than others. And I want to show you that clip from the New York Post.
And we need to talk about bioweapons. I know a lot now about bioweapons because I've been doing a book on it for the past 2.5 years, and you know, the technology that we now have to develop these microbes, we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately. The races that are most immune to COVID-19 are because of the structure of the genetic structure, genetic differentials among different races of the receptors of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential impact to that. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. That's what all those labs in the Ukraine are about. They're collecting Russian DNA, they're collecting Chinese DNA, so that we can target people by race.
So you can see from that discussion that he does mention that there is a chance that certain groups might be affected more by COVID-19. Now, this is clearly a controversial opinion, and the studies that he's citing, while they are legitimate and do find those conclusions, the Cleveland study, it is a claim that is a little bit risky to make because of the implication. The way that the New York Post took it was that if you say certain ethnic minority groups are less severely impacted by COVID-19, you, in the context of discussing the disease as a bioweapon released from a lab and bioweapons development and bioweapons that are ethnically targeted, you imply that those who were least severely impacted created this as a bioweapon. So in this case, it would have been the Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese teaming up to create this weapon. Of course, he never said anything like that, but that was how they have tarred him with another paintbrush. Now, he's got a long history of being a huge supporter of Israel, as does his family. Mr. Kennedy actually has spoken pretty aggressively about his support for Israel recently on Glenn Greenwald's show, where he actually says that, you know, their approach towards the Palestinians is as humane as they could possibly make it. And I mean, going a lot farther than you would expect from someone who holds a lot of the more left-wing positions. I also thought I would just quickly show you some of what that evidence he presented was. And you can see this article here. There is considerable variability in the susceptibility and progression of COVID-19, and it appears to be strongly correlated with, no surprise, age, gender, and yes, ethnicity and pre-existing health conditions. So this was not considered a revelation, but when he cited it, of course, he was used to make him sound like a bigot. Nevertheless, the data provide evidence for varying degrees of susceptibility to COVID-19 in different ethnicities. This study actually found that among 6,274 patients tested for SARS, 1,837 tested positive and are the base of this study's results. They found that disproportionate hospitalizations, deaths, and complications from SARS-CoV-2 and in some minority groups suggest there might be potential biological underpinning driving risk disparities in COVID-19 patients. Now, this is something that we've seen actually in a number of studies, so it shouldn't have been a shock, but it was. So anyway, that's a little bit of the weekly news update from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He issued a response featuring a rabbi, one of the more famous rabbis in America, and claiming that, hey, we know you're a huge supporter of Israelis. We know you're not an anti-Semite, but people might disagree with your science. They might disagree with your facts. Let's have a debate about whether or not these bioweapons with ethnic specific targets built into them should be developed at all. This is a conversation we have. Again, as Matt often says, this is about silencing the messenger rather than letting us hear what the message is and making up our own minds.
Thank you, Niko, for that story. We at the Homeless Left, we are curious about any kind of reporting on this campaign that seems a little like we're not getting the full story. Obviously, there's some stuff he said in that clip. It was a camera. Somebody pulled out a camera phone and recorded him. He probably didn't know it. But we want to hear what he has to say. We don't want to just hear the smear from the media. And I think that these conversations are difficult to have, obviously. And let's keep curious about it. Let's keep curious about what they say about this candidate, and let's hear it from his own mouth. I think that's important. We need to hear what he has to say. So, we're excited to move forward, and we look forward to what Niko has to share with us next week. So let's get back into today's topic. Me Too, Believe All Women. We're going to be showing you guys an exclusive interview with Tara Reade, a survivor of sexual assault. Her attacker was Joe Biden. And that is something that we noticed at the time when she was been talking about this since 1993 when it actually happened. Nobody would listen to her. And there's a documented proof about her being vocal about this. There's even a tape on Larry King Live from 1993. Her mom calling in and asking, what can my daughter do when she was sexually assaulted by her boss in the White House, and said exactly what had happened on the show live. And Larry, obviously at the time, didn't give the best advice, but there's documentation of her whole case. And I'm not going to break the whole thing down for you, but I'm here right now to let you guys know and just to kind of piece this together about what exactly happened. And then we'll get to the interview. Let's get into the backstory. So of Me Too. So if you guys remember 2017, there was a big takedown. Finally, 2017, 2018, right around there, Harvey Weinstein. That was the big takedown. Here's a guy who had done so much abuse, so much abuse of power, so many women coming forward. But it took a few courageous ones, like Rose McGowan. At the time, Alyssa Milano, although she had a little misdirection, which we'll get to later. But it did take some courage from some of these women. And of course, some journalists that had to be courageous too and actually report the story. So we then, I think it was Alyssa Milano who coined the term Me Too, hashtag Me Too on Twitter back in 2018. And then the movement began and went forward from there. And it was really about, and then the hashtag Time's Up. And then there was the hashtag Believe All Women. That was the main one. And if you believed all women, that means that you were giving a woman a chance to tell her story and not silence her. So that's what everybody was doing. All the way up until Tara Reade spoke up. Again, because she wasn't being listened to in the 90s or the 2000s. But in 2020, it was like, hey, Joe Biden is on this presidential stage. And now we have this movement, Believe All Women, to get behind. So she was able to, get a few people to listen. There were a few courageous journalists at the time at The Intercept. Ryan Grimm, he got on board, trying to, help her corroborate her story with all of her, the paper trail. There's a massive paper trail of this. And all she was really wanting was a day in court. And she never got it because, and this is, I'd love someone to come, write in a question or a comment wants to challenge this, but it became political. As soon as it became got on the presidential stage, we had to protect Joe Biden. That had to happen. So in order for them to pull this off, you have to silence the people that are trying to stop this action from happening, which is basically take down Trump. That was the mission. And it was whatever it takes for that to happen, even compromising the integrity and the principles, which was supposed to be part of the Me Too movement. So why don't we right now, I want to do this because I know a lot of you guys know, Tara Reade is out in Moscow. You're probably wondering why. And the reports are that she's trying to get rid of her American citizenship. That's a lie. That was reported in the New York Times. That's a lie. She's asking for Russian citizenship, but she does not want to lose her American citizenship. The only reason she's not coming back here right now is because she's told that she's being bullied and told that if she comes back, she would be not safe here. And that's because of the Biden power to try and stop her from going to court. And they're still trying to get her to go to court right now. And we're rooting for her. First, before we do the interview, I want to play you guys a little clip. She gave a little press conference out in Moscow a month ago and explained this. And of course, like I said, New York Times and these big media companies here did not report accurately. They just took little pieces. But I want to play you this whole entire clip that kind of covers her whole story. It's important that we see context when we see these type of reports. We want to get it from the horse's mouth. So let's see what Tara Reade had to say last month from Moscow about why she can't come back to the U.S. and what's happening with her Me Too case.
So further, I want to talk about the whistleblower issue. Whistleblowers, there's an act in Congress we're supposed to have protection. Where's my protection? Where are others? Why are so many people having to seek shelter in Moscow? I feel very lucky to be here. I don't want people to think that anyone told me what to say or anyone put me up to this. I feel very fortunate, and these are all my own thoughts. And if you follow my Twitter and you follow my content, you know I talk about geopolitical issues. You know that I analyze those things. You know how I feel about all of these things. And you also know that I never got an investigation into Joe Biden forward. It never happened as of yet. Now, I'm told that very soon it will. Hopefully, I'll be able to testify. And one thing I want to make clear, and I want my fellow American citizens to really hear this if they see this, don't be intimidated, because I'm not. I'm not going to be intimidated, bullied, or silenced. I'm going to speak out, and I'm willing to speak under oath about the corruption I witnessed, about the crime I experienced. And it is remarkable that Joe Biden raped me when I worked for him in the US Congress, and I'm supposed to be the fugitive. That is ridiculous. And it's unacceptable, and I don't accept it. So as I move forward, I hope to find safety here. I appreciate my friends in Moscow, Russia, that have opened their arms to me and given me that safety, including Maria Butina. So thank you. I am going to make a request, and it's a large one. I'd like to apply for citizenship in Russia from the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and hopefully Maria Butina can help me with that from the State Duma. I don't know what will happen with that, but I do promise to be a good citizen, and I promise to move forward with my life in a positive way. And, I hope to also have my American citizenship, because the whole thing is, my Russian brothers and sisters, I just want to thank you for your warmth and for your kindness and for opening your heart to me when at a very scary time. Spasiba.
So that was Tara Reade speaking from Moscow last month. And like I said earlier, the New York Times and other publications decided to take little pieces of that and leave out the part about how she wants to keep the American citizenship. Now, I had a chance to speak directly with Tara from Moscow to ask her straight up what happened and what is happening next, and really get into her head about, what it means to be a survivor. It has to be brave during these times. I'll also point out that she's anti-war, and I actually had a chance to meet up with her at a few different times, and this is why we've kind of become friends. The idea is that she is a progressive like me. She is on the left, so this idea that she's some Trumper right wing, extremist trying to take down Joe Biden for political gain, it's psychotic. And you guys, if you're hearing this from the media, you're being propagandized. It's not real. I'll say firsthand, I know Tara Reade. I first met her at a Medicare for All march. Now, what kind of right-wing extremists show up to Medicare for All marches? It was in Hollywood a year and a half ago. We were there. Well, guess who wasn't there? The Squad and Bernie Sanders, but that's another story. She was there. We were there. And, that's what kind of person she is. Guess when I met up with her again? It was in Washington, D.C. earlier this year at an anti-war rally to stop the Ukraine funding of a proxy war. What are they calling her now? She's a Trumper, not just a Trumper. Now she's a Putinist. Of course. Of course. That's the name calling. That's the labeling. That's what you get when you speak up against the war machine or the people in power that are abusing their power, just like what the Me Too movement was supposed to be about, calling out powerful people and holding them accountable, people like Harvey Weinstein. Now, he took a fall. Does that mean it's over and everyone else can walk free? Maybe that's the whole idea. One person goes down and everyone moves on. Like, we're okay, we got him. We got the problem, the bad apple. We have to stop thinking like that every problem, it just requires getting rid of the bad apple. And then we go back to life as usual. Be careful about that with Trump, guys. The bad apple, get rid of him and everything will be fine again. Guys, there's a problem, a systematic problem. The system itself doesn't work. So it takes people like Tara Reade to call this bullshit out and have the courage to stand up to it and keep standing up to it. Even if they want her to go away, she's still speaking out. So again, we are very humbled and appreciative of the opportunity to have the conversations we want to have here on the Homeless Left. And I'm going to show you guys part of it right now. And we're going to get back into the rest of it later because we're going to cut the YouTube stream and the Twitter and the Twitch, and we're going to just be on Rumble later, and we'll get into the second half. But right now, I want to give you guys the first part of my exclusive interview with Tara Reade. Check it out. All right. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today on the Homeless Left. And I know you're coming from us all the way from Moscow right now. What's this?
Russia, not Moscow, Idaho. Moscow, Russia.
Not Idaho. Actually, Russia.
Yes. Actually in Russia.
Wow,
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It really made John Kirby mad that I'm in Russia. So just so you know, he had 2 press conferences about it. So he's not happy.
No, he's not. A lot of
dude.
people aren't happy about it. And I mean, we were just, last time I saw you, we were out in DC back in February at the Rage Against the War Machine, and we were, protesting the war together. You gave a great speech out there about, it was,
and I was on Tucker the day before. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was,
and I got my 3 minutes and I was just like, got it all in about Ukraine, about the proxy war against Russia. Yeah, Ukraine. So.
And like, yay for Tucker for taking anti-war voices on his show, and then people like you, people like everyone we've seen go on there, Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, anybody who goes on there gets smeared by the left, who is saying you're right wing, you're Putinist, you're all these things, when we're trying to go left of the Democratic Party, call them out And it's just, it's
They're
incredible.
the warmongers. They're the warmongers. Look at their votes. All people have to do, if you're an educated Democrat voter, all you have to do is look at the votes for weapons to Ukraine for the last 5, let's just do 5 instead of 10 endless wars. And they voted every time, or they started it and finished it. So and Afghanistan, 20 years long, okay. But Joe Biden, you know, he never saw a war he didn't like, right? He's voted for everything down the line, and he's always had it out for Russia. This was like the perfect time for him to flex his, you know, money laundering scheme.
And this is, and you notice all of the protection he gets from, you know, FBI, DOJ, and like this type of like, we got to keep him, you know, on track so we can keep funneling the money into the military industrial complex, into the warmongers' pockets. And so we see that trickle over into all these other things where he gets protected on everything, including, as we know about, we talk about the Me Too movement, and how when I saw that unfold, I was like, how we're talking about believe all women, and then all of a sudden it wasn't that anymore. Can you,
Nope.
What happened there? Did you?
I broke it.
Yeah.
It was my fault. All my fault. I broke a cultural hashtag. No, I'm just kidding. If I don't laugh, I'm gonna just, you know, probably lose it. So, but no, they literally weaponized sexual assault. So now, you know, and sexual assault isn't political. It doesn't know right or left, liberal, independent. You know what I mean? It crosses all socioeconomic, political, cultural, religious lines. And the fact that they've used like their little troll farms, like the little, you know, those little Napoleon-like boasty Kranzensteins who terrorized my family and me for a couple of years, and Sally Albright and her little troll farm, and the, you know, the Bidenists, right? And they're horrible. They go online, they call you, they email your employer, they dox your family members. And the DNC is paying for this. They're paying for witness intimidation and terrorizing people into silence. I'm targeted because I came out with the truth. They wouldn't have spent so much money on all of the angles they did and you know, weaponizing the media against me since 2019 if they weren't worried. And they're worried because I have witnesses that are ready to go. I have corroborating evidence, and they know it. And I was ready to testify before Congress against Joe Biden, and it would have made it like really clear. And I think it would have paved the way for other people who have been silenced to come forward, who've been afraid to come forward. And so he's going to get away with it. He's not going to be investigated. Just like Hunter Biden got a little parking ticket for all his adventures, right? And corruption and bribery and drug use and misuse of taxpayers' money and influence. I mean, it goes on, the list goes on, right?
Slap on the wrist.
That's you know, he's taken us, he's weaponized the DOJ against me. I have a sealed indictment against me by the DOJ. I've never done anything wrong except tell the truth. I've told the truth. And yes, I am against the proxy war. And today in Crimea, a bridge was blown up by, they say, British or American, you know, weapons by Ukraine, and they killed 2 civilians and injured the daughter, who's 14. And the last time they blew up the Crimea bridge, they killed 5 civilians. So the Ukraine's committing war crimes, and we're silent about it. In fact, we're participating in it. We're giving them bombs, we're making them plans. The Nord Stream pipeline was done primarily by the US, as you know, Seymour Hersh pointed out. And I mean, how long are the celebrities going to keep, you know, trotting out their Ukraine flags in their bios and be all like, oh, kumbaya, instead of talking about the truth, which is that this military industrial complex is out of control. They're making a ton of money off Ukraine. They're testing weapons they've never tested. That's the other thing to them. And if you read some, and this is, I'm not making this up. If you look up defense.org and you read some of the articles in the military, they talk about how Ukraine is the perfect testing place for this weapon, that weapon. That's sick. I mean, but that's the culture that we're in. And we're told to be patriotic and just go along with killing people and funding it, just like they did with Iraq, just like they did with Afghanistan, and they've lied to us every single time. So when are people going to get it? That's what I want to know.
I think they tend to follow the same pattern each war. They can't see the forest through the trees, and then we need a certain amount of years to pass, and then they look back and go, we might have gotten that wrong, or if only we knew then what we know now. No, we know it right now, and they're not going to be able to see it until years have passed. But we've been shouting at the top of our lungs right now, and we're saying it's the same thing again. It's Iraq all over again. It's Afghanistan. It's everything before that, and it's every war in between, and all the countries we're in right now, just dominating with our Western power. And I don't know why they get so emotional about, America, the good guys, Russia. We have to stop Putin, and they don't see it. Don't you know they use the same tactics with Saddam? The same thing. Yep. We have to stop him. He's got Putin
is not the enemy. Putin actually cares about his people. He cares about Russia. I'm in Russia. He has an 80% approval rate. People like him here. I haven't come across anyone that doesn't like their president. And I mean, I'm out in the streets walking around. I've been in Moscow now for a couple of months. I've been also in Sochi. I've been in the Southern Caucasus. I've talked to a lot of different people, working class people, as well as people, and I don't really know anyone in the government. The only person I know of was Maria Butina, who helped me, as you know. But other than that, I mean, I know some journalists. I know journalists from other countries. I also know several people that are here under asylum because their governments are going after them because they're standing up about this proxy war. I one from England, one from Ireland, one from Germany, actually a couple from America. I mean, actually, two more as well from England. So I know 7 people just in my sphere right now that have some sort of asylum, or they're thinking about it, or can't go back to their own home country because they will be prosecuted simply because they're telling the truth. And Tucker Carlson said something really powerful, and you may or may not support him, but I tend to think he has a lot of good things to say. But he said yesterday, if you tell it, it's when, it's about telling the truth. And when you tell the truth, that's when they come after you. And, to me, it's mind boggling that I came here to sign a book deal, right? And I have a vacation, tourist around, then I was going to go back home and sit down and write, and then come back here in August for a visit and go back and forth, right? A little bit like other people do, several people that I know do that. Apparently I'm not allowed to do that, according to the US government, because I immediately got told, that I was in danger of perhaps being taken in for violating sanctions, for a whole menu of possible things. Plus I have that sealed indictment that no one knows what it is. And including me, including my lawyers, including every journalist I've tried to get, please, let's try to find out what this is. And no one can find out. So here we are. And I had come forward about the president of the United States. Then he was just a candidate, right? And in 1993, I worked for him. He rapes me at work during a work day. I try to report it. The Senate has it buried, it's sealed. My personnel file, they won't release. They're saying it's not in the public interest, right? I can't get justice. I can't get any investigation. And not only that, but they try to prosecute me and destroy my life and then call me a traitor. So I'm the traitor because I told the truth about being raped by a powerful man who happens to run the United States of America. That's it in a nutshell. That's my story.
And you had the paper trail to back it up. Every single, like we saw, even digging up the old footage of Larry King and your mother at the time in 93 going on and talking about this incident. We have all the collaborative evidence that you were vocal about this way before leading up to the presidential election. It's clear that because Joe Biden was on the presidential stage, that was, of course, a time where you wanted to, more than any time, talk about this, how important it is, because, and we were right in the middle of the Me Too movement. So everybody coming forward about this person or that person, everybody got taken seriously. And to hear this from, I mean, it's so tragic to me that you had to go through this, Tara. And I don't know why, you know, people that were watching along and saw the same things. It's not like they didn't see this go down. They were just as dismissive. People like Alyssa Milano. I mean, people that were like all about Me Too. And she even started a podcast, brings Joe Biden on. We saw this, and she and is like celebrating him at the time when he should have been the first person she cornered, but she goes the other direction.
And then Rose McGowan stuck up for me and did it the best she could and got eviscerated by the media, you know? And, you know, and she had been very brave coming out against Weinstein and years before the Me Too movement,
right?
You know, and then Time's Up, like Time's Up. I went to Time's Up for help. They accepted my case, didn't take the PR case because they told me it was too political. What they didn't tell me is that Anita Dunn was already working for Joe Biden. She was already on his campaign finance. So the finance, how I found out was a reporter, Ryan Grimm, unearthed the fact, according to FEC, Joe Biden was paying Anita Dunn and her PR firm, and she was already on his payroll. And you know, and the day that they told me it was too political, that day, Tina Chen, one of the founders and one of the upper level people that were in that meeting, went to a Joe Biden fundraiser after hanging up with me. That's what I was dealing with. They literally took my case like as if they were going to take it, but then didn't give me PR, right? And then didn't really give me a lawyer. They kept stringing me along to get information. The last thing they said to me in that meeting was, Tara, can you give us other names of other women that are going to come forward? And they were gonna,
They want your whole playbook. They want your whole playbook so they can use it against you. They weren't
exactly. It was really chilling. Well, now Time's Up has been dismantled, and they had to all resign in disgrace because of how they treated me, how they treated the Cuomo survivors and other survivors that aren't as high profile. And they were basically set up with millions of dollars from the Hollywood entertainment industry to be a catch and kill for elite Democrats. And I don't know if anyone in the Hollywood industry watches your particular body of work, but I assume they do. Yeah. But you have some corrupt sons of bitches there, and you need you need to clean your house.
We're working on it. We're working on it, Tara. We're doing some work on our end. Independent voices here, standing up to this total corrupt industry we're in. And I, you know, if we have to go down fighting, we will. But we have a few projects in the works, and you know, we talk to our viewers and our community about them. And I know a lot of them they don't want to connect the dots. They get excited when we have, you know, opportunities for them to participate. And like we were saying earlier about, you know, people's careers and how important their careers, and they'll do anything to protect them. But we talk about courage. We talk about principle. And what do those things mean if you can only apply them when it's convenient for you, as we saw with the Me Too movement. But when we see corruption in our own industry, and we can go down a ton of rabbit holes right now. I mean, I just saw oh my gosh, we just saw the Sound of Freedom movie last night. I'm like, oh my God, like a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. And it's like some of these things, like we don't have to be experts. Like I tell people in the industry, look, we don't have to be doctors to understand there was corruption during COVID. We don't have to be, you know, geopolitical experts to understand there's corruption and the way the behavior of the media and the behavior of these politicians during wartime. We don't have to be expert. We can just watch behavior. I'm not an expert on the stuff we just saw in the movie Sound of Freedom. I want to get into, I want to learn about it, but I can tell right away there's a problem just the way they're responding. You can see
the way they tried to smash that movie down. Oh my God. Like that, see, whenever something's really loud like that, when the dissent is so loud and so like fervorous and so like, you notice everybody was saying the same thing. You knew that they were touching a note. They were touching a note because you've got some really powerful people who are engaging in child sex trafficking. And it's been happening, and it's been part of the military. What just happened in Camp Pendleton with that young girl was found. Like I was born actually in Monterey, and lived near, Pacific Grove. So I know Camp Pendleton. I know there's places out there that are like abandoned houses where all kinds of shit goes down. And it's really sad to see the military, to see Hollywood particularly take advantage of young, people that are starting in the industry, or pretend it's modeling, like Epstein did, or in the case, I think, of the movie that you saw last night, that was done through people that were basically refugees as well, and farm workers. Unfortunately, like in Monterey, where I'm from, and Leon Panetta, by the way, is the representative. He was the representative of that area, and now his son is, because of course now Democrats think that they're just kings and they just pass down their fiefdoms to their kids. So now Jimmy Panetta is the congressional, he runs that area. They haven't done anything about the human sexual trafficking there that they're doing with illegal immigrants that are working the fields. There's rapes, sexual assault, there's, all that. And these are young, underage in some cases, and nothing's being done. It's just being covered up. And yeah, so you bring up a good point. It's I don't know what to say, except that my observation now that I'm here in Moscow, there's, corruption's in every part of the world, right? But like I'm observing a little more, I don't know, like it's very family oriented here. When you go to the parks, when you're around the schools, it's a little calmer. Things are just calmer. There's not a lot of homeless. There's not a lot of drugs. Drugs are not tolerated. I haven't even seen a drunken brawl, and I've been out late. I had to go and walk to where my cab was a couple of blocks because they went to the wrong place. And it was 2 a.m. because I had gone to a birthday party, and so I was running late, and it was 2 a.m. and I was walking in a city, and I felt perfectly safe. There were people around, and there was no one bothered me. My taxi driver was really nice and immediately like saw me and then came driving up to get closer to me. I mean, all I can tell you is there's a huge difference, because I've been to almost every major city in the United States, and Moscow is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to. I have to tell you that. It's just incredible. And it feels, as a woman alone, it feels safe. And that's, and I'm like to myself, why does America not feel safe? I should feel safe in my own country. I felt so unsafe that I'm seeking asylum in this country to get away from my monster. And you know what? The truth is, my monster became the whole world's monster.
That's Tara Reade coming to us from Moscow. I'm going to bring you guys the second half of that interview when we move over exclusively on Rumble, which we're about to do momentarily. I just want to tell the entertainment crowd, the Sherwood Players community, if you're watching right now, you haven't signed up for our channel over there, you need to do that, because we're only going to be on YouTube for a little longer, for I think one more week. But if you guys are just joining us now, yeah, absolutely, you need to follow Tara Reade on Twitter at Reade Alexander. Also, you can follow her YouTube channel, Tara Reade Author, and check out her Rumble channel, which is cool. Rumble's awesome, guys. You guys got to get on here if you're not on Rumble yet. Politics of Survival, Rumble. It's Tara Reade's channel, so check that out. And again, I'm going to give you guys one more plea with the Sherwood community and entertainment industry. Join our Rumble channel. We're going to have this conversation. We go further because we got censored on YouTube. They pulled one of our videos from our Sherwood Shakeup show a few months back. That's why we started the channel Homeless Left specifically on Rumble. So guys, sign up for it right now. We're going to get you guys, engaged. We have a whole new crowd, new audience that has found us on Rumble, so you guys can come and feel part of that. We're still doing the Sherwood Players stuff. We're going to be out with the WGA. We're going to be out with the union strike. We're actually going out this week on Thursday to Netflix Studios to help with the protest. We're going to film some stuff and get your guys's, get your stories out in the streets. But it's important that you guys see what's also going on outside of our industry. So yeah, Sherwood Players, you can follow us on Sherwood Players on any social, all of them. You can get us on our website at sherwoodplayers.com. And if you have a short film, you want to get part of our International Film Festival, now's the time to submit, guys. SPIFF.live. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you at our next event. And let's go ahead right now and head over to Rumble. And yeah, this is going to be fun, guys. We have more to get into. And yeah, so just take care. We're gonna check in with you guys. Just give us 1 minute, and we'll be right back up with the second half of the show. So take care, and we will see you guys in just a minute. Thank you.